Hello! The WebClient is an HTTP server that handles communication between the isCOBOL application server and a client's browser. The benefit of using WebClient is that the client computer doesn't need any special software installed, just a browser. Now, it's common to have a mix of thin client users who may be working from inside a network and WebClient users working either outside the network or on a platform that doesn't have a JRE available, such as an Android tablet on a warehouse floor. The WebClient is licensed with the runtime. You choose how many connections will have access through the browser. And in addition to the thin client administration panel, the WebClient includes full support of a user's screen. It lets you view and even control the remote desktop. Now, there are a few things that are not supported in WebClient, and these are mostly related to the security issues that are inherent in running from a browser. For instance, a browser will not let you print directly to a printer. So the WebClient will display a file to be printed as a PDF document and give the user the option of printing to a local machine. Now, there are 3 isCOBOL products necessary to the WebClient: the runtime, the isCOBOL server, and the isCOBOL WebClient. You can install them on one server or spread them out over multiple servers. The WebClient and the WebClient Administrator services run separately, but are connected with a secret key that's saved in the WebClient properties file. The Windows installer will automatically create the secret key when you install the services during setup. After installing the products, get your application working with the thin client first. Start the application server and make sure you can run your program with this client. If it won't run in thin client, then it won't run in WebClient. Also, the command that you use to run it in thin client has the information that you need to set up in the WebClient application. So once it's running in thin client, you can create the application in WebClient's administration panel and test it by running in your browser. So let's get started. Our first step is to install. I've downloaded the setup for the newest version, which is 2021 R1. I click on it to start. Next. Accept the agreement and next. Remember, the 3 products that we need are the runtime, which is automatically checked, the server, and the WebClient. Next. I can choose either one of these JDKs, but I'm going to choose the version 8. I'll take the default location for the installation. I'll take all the defaults here. And this message is telling me that the WebClient is now going to install as 2 separate services, one on port 8080 for the WebClient and one on port 8090 for the WebClient administration. I'll click on OK, and yes, I'm going to install the Windows services. I'll take all the defaults for the application server and the defaults for the WebClient on port 8080 with this secret key that was created during the installation, and the default 8090 for the WebClient admin with the same secret key to connect them. I already have my license installed, so I'm going to say no, and it will install. And when it's done, we have a couple of informational items. We'll go through them. Click on next, and then finish. So let's look at our services that we just installed. And here we have the application server, the WebClient, and the WebClient administration console. All of them are running. So far, so good. The first sample I'm going to run is the control set. And I need to add a couple of paths to the class path so that the application server can find my program. And you do that by going into the installation in the bin directory and find isserver.vm options right here. Here's the class path that it will set, and here's my addition, and I'll save this and close it. The application server reads this file automatically when it starts. So now that I've saved it, I'm going to restart the service. So let's run the application server panel. We'll go into the bin folder of our installation and run the cob command, and we'll run isClient -panel. Admin is a login, and the panel shows just this connection. I want to run my application. It's called isControlSet. And there it is. isControlSet shows all of our graphical controls and includes a lot of the settings. So I'll minimize that and go back to my application server panel and press F5. And now we see that we have two standard thin client connections. One is the panel and one is the application itself. All right, so now we're ready to go to the web client. I already have the service running, and I'm doing it all locally so I can use all the default values. So let's go right to a browser, and we will connect to localhost :8090. That's the administration console. Login as admin. There's our server configuration. We want to create a new app. I'll call it isC for control set. And I'll press F5 to refresh this view. And there's my isC. I click on it. This name is what's going to display up on the tab. So I want to give it something like isCOBOL GUI Control Demo. And I want to change the security because by default it's inherited, which means everyone would have to use admin to log in. I'm going to change it to none and keep the server address and the server port and put my program name in, apply, and up here I'll enable. And once it starts, I'll start another browser window. We want localhost :8080 because that's the web client. And then I named it isC. And there it is, running in a browser. When I go back to my application panel, I press F5 to update. Now you see that I have, in addition to my thin client sessions, I have a web client session. Now this is great, but this isn't how you're probably going to want to set it up. You probably want to set up your servers on another computer, possibly even a Linux. And so that's what we're going to do next. And I have a Linux server running and I have a thin client connection. And we're working with a different sample this time. It's isApplication. And I want to connect to it with an istc file. I'm going to go into our installation and sample and isApplication. And there's an istc in here that we've put in for your use. So I'm going to drag it out. And let's just take a look. That is a text file. And we'll put my server address in there. I'm using the default port, and the name of the application is isApplication. Save it. And I'll click on the isApplication.istc, and it starts the thin client version of the application. I also want to get the application server panel running. Let's do that. And panel. Admin. And you see that we have the two standard thin clients running. Now we're going to go to the web client. We need to do some configuration because it's on a different machine. Here's my server, and the application started here. I'm not using the services. I'm starting it from the console. And we have 4 files to change. So let's go to the isCOBOL installation, and there's a folder called Web Client. And in that folder is a jetty.properties. And we're not running from localhost, but instead of using the IP address here, I want to listen from both localhost and remote. So I'm going to use 0.0.0.0. And I'll save this and close it. Now remember, there are 2 services. One is the web client and one is the web client admin. So I go to the admin folder, and here's the other jetty properties. And I will change this one as well. Save and close. Now we need to let both of the services know about the other one. The web client admin has a properties file that I'll open, and here's where I change it. There's another local host down here. You're not going to use that unless you want to run this from your own container like Tomcat. But I only want to change this top one to point to the web client on 8080. I'll save that. And we'll go back to web client folder. And in the web client folder, we want the webclient.config. And here we have a local host on 8090 to point to the admin. And I'll need to change the save it. And now we're going to just start the web client and the web client admin. And we can see that the web client is started on port 8080 and the web client admin is started on port 8090. I've opened both of these up on my firewall, by the way. So now the web client is configured and it's started. Let's go back to my laptop, open up the browser again, and this time we're going to put in the address and 8090 for the web client console. Admin. And we're going to take the same steps. Create new app. We're going to call it isApp this time because it's the is application. F5 to refresh. Call it isCOBOL demo application. Change the security to none. My server address is now different. Same port. And the application is application. Apply. Enable. We'll open up a new browser window. And we'll go to the web client on port 8080 and we'll run isApp. And there is our is application running in the web browser. Now the reason that I chose this was that I wanted to show you an application that ran both graphical windows, such as this one, and a character window, because you can run character programs in the web browser. Let's go back to our application server window and press F5 so that we can see the web client's connection here. Now with web client, as I said, you have some extra support features, so let's take a look at those. We'll go back to my web client console in my application, and up here I can click on sessions. And here's my session, and I want to view the user's screen. So I'm going to click on view, and I don't have it set up, but you can set it up where the user has to approve the connection. If they need it, I can click here to control their screen. So for instance, if a main GUI person doesn't know how to exit from a character application, you might show them. You just press escape. Now if I go to my user screen, I have escape there. So that's a first look at the new web client. I hope you'll give it a try. If you have any questions, you can contact us at support@variant.com. Thank you.